This is AP News Minute. Donald Trump's business losses in 1995 were so large that they could have allowed him to avoid paying federal income taxes for as many as 18 years, according to records obtained by the New York Times. In a story published online late Saturday, the Times said it anonymously received the first pages of Trump's state income tax filings. Jamaicans are monitoring Hurricane Matthew as it churns across the Caribbean Sea. Fishermen are grounding their boats in preparation for strong winds, and surfers on Wiki Wacky Beach are taking advantage of the waves. Witnesses say several dozen people died in a stampede during a religious celebration in a town southeast of Ethiopia's capital. People at the annual festival were crushed to death Sunday morning after police used tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse protesters chanting anti-government slogans. And the 26th edition of the Human Tower competition is set to finish on Sunday in Catalonia. The tradition dates back to the 18th century, where teams compete to build the tallest and most complicated towers of humans. Emily Roseman, Associated Press, with AP News Minute.
We're learning more about a fatal shooting that left two North Carolina A&T University students dead. Police this evening are still looking for the people responsible. CBS North Carolina's Amy Cutler has the story from Greensboro.
An off-campus housing community at North Carolina A&T University became a crime scene Sunday morning. Police searching for evidence after they say two students were shot and killed. It started with a large house party early this morning here at 911 Circle Drive. Police say there was then an altercation and then the shooting. Keep in mind, this is just a few blocks from campus.
And then I hear 3 shots being fired. And then, you know, people are screaming inside the house telling me that a girl and a guy had gotten shot.
This man didn't want to give his name or show his face. He tells me he lives in the apartment where that party took place and knew the victims. Police identifying them as 19-year-old Elisa Dudene and 21-year-old Ahmad Campbell.
Both of them real friendly, real friendly. She's real good people. Once you get to know her, she's your best friend.
He says Alicia was a dancer. The Chicago native was studying engineering. Students at NC A&T waking up to this alert on Twitter.
I really felt like it was a devastating situation because 2 lives were lost, and it could have been me, you know what I'm saying? I could have been in a house party.
Greensboro police saying it remains an active investigation, but it's unclear if the victims knew the suspect or what led up to the shooting.
We have a number of witnesses, but we don't have anything to indicate that they were a part of the dispute. But again, like I say, it is early in our investigation.
In Greensboro, Amy Cutler, CBS North Carolina.
For right now, 40th Street and Broadway closed for a truly awful reason. ABC 15's Megan Thompson there tonight. And Megan, a 6-year-old thrown from the back of a truck.
That's exactly right, Kim. Take a look behind me. You can see a tow truck just arrived on scene. Now, this intersection at Broadway and 40th Street has been closed for nearly 7 hours now, probably because of the severity of this. That 6-year-old being thrown from the back there, and he wasn't alone. 3 other kids hurt in this wreck, the youngest a 2-year-old. That child, the only one seated inside at the time of the crash. But get this, police say they were not restrained in any way. No car seat, nothing. And the driver, I want to show you, is in the blue Dodge pickup over here. This is the one that police say is responsible for all of this. Admitting to police he was drunk and high, running the red light here. He will definitely be facing some charges, according to them, at the very least DUI. But if that 6-year-old passes away, there could be much more. Now, the driver of that truck with the kids inside, right behind this tow truck here, we're told that is the grandfather of these children. Another woman was with him in the front seat, both of them also taken to the hospital. Now, it is not necessarily illegal for them to have those kids in the back of the truck. A lot of times on the street level, it's legal. Police can issue a warning, but it is an issue to have a kid in the back of the car without any restraint. So police are looking into that. But Kim, right now, everyone's focus is on that 6-year-old boy who we last heard was in surgery.
And we're thinking about him too, Megan. Thank you. ABC 15 Mobile.
Now we're going to swing over to Indiana out of the States, where we're joined by Mr. E. Michael Jones, editor of Culture Wars online magazine. Hello, Mr. Jones, and thanks for joining us here on Press TV's Top 5 once again, sir. Now, nothing has persuaded Riyadh into stopping its bombing of civilian areas in Yemen. Do you think this latest retaliatory attack will influence the Saudis and their allies to start thinking about halting their year-and-a-half-long aerial bombardment?
Well, they certainly have something serious to think about now, because there are 2 significant factors here. One, the position that al-Houthi is occupying, and 2, the weapons they have. You put these 2 things together, and now they have basically the capacity to shut down the Bab al-Mandeb Straits. Well, that's one of the major shipping lanes for oil and all sorts of other things heading from Asia, certainly from Saudi Arabia into Europe. So the other issue here is, of course, this disparity that no one can figure out between the missile and the ship, or the missile and the tank, or the missile and the aircraft carrier. At this point, it looks as if the edge in warfare is now to the people who have missiles. And so this is certainly serious. This is a serious development, because this warship is not as vulnerable as tankers, and it was just blown out of the water by the missile that the Al-Houthis have, and now they control the straits. So how Saudi is going to react is anybody's guess at this point. It's hard to tell, because now the war in Syria is coming to a climax. The Saudis are overextended and fighting a war on two fronts, and I don't know how they're going to react at this point.
Well, I mean, many people are shocked that Saudi Arabia has carried out these attacks on Yemeni cities for this long now with their so-called coalition. Why do you think Riyadh has been so brutal and uncompromising with its approach toward its southern neighbor?
Well, I think they listen to their American advisors too much, and they have the sense that they have technological superiority because they buy American weapons. Well, as I said earlier, it's not clear anymore that there is this great technological edge that they have. They spend a lot of money, but whether they get a payback on it, it's not clear. So I think every time they buy a new weapon system, they're convinced that they can end the war simply by technological force majeure. And it's clear that that's not working. It hasn't worked so far. It's not going to work in the future. At a certain point, they're going to have to reassess their strategy.
And ultimately, they're really unrelenting in negotiations too. They don't want the Ansarullah, the Houthis, to have any say or voice in their own country's government. They're totally meddling in the Yemen's internal affairs, and they ultimately want to have the last say in who governs this country, which kind of points to there being no peace in sight in the near future.
Well, the peace may come when they realize that they're overextended and they're not winning. Maybe they'll back off. Now they've got a serious existential threat to their link with the West. If the Al-Houthi can sink a warship in the Bab al-Mandeb Straits, they can certainly sink oil tankers. And if that's the case, they got a serious situation on their hands. So what are they going to do? Buy more weapons, try that strategy that failed. They don't know how to use the weapons. They have to hire people to use the weapons. They don't have troops on the ground. That's not working. So at a certain point, somebody's going to have to wake up and say, maybe we need a different type of strategy here.
Thank you, Mr. E. Michael Jones, for your valuable input, editor of Culture Wars online magazine, joining us out of Indiana.
Now, the most accurate weather team in Florida, ABC Action Weather.
How you doing, everybody? Isolated to scattered storms across the area on Sunday. I know the calendar says October. Still kind of feels like August, though, doesn't it? Highs in the low 90s, scattered afternoon and evening thunderstorms. On Monday, we start off dry. We get some storms later on in the afternoon. I think we see the same thing on Tuesday. Dry early on, and then some storms. Then what happens on Wednesday and Thursday all depends on the exact track of Hurricane Matthew. Still a very warm day with upper 80s to around 90 degrees across the area on Monday. Pretty decent chance of those showers and thunderstorms later in the afternoon. There is the latest on Matthew, Category 4. There's the track. Still expected to stay offshore, but the Hurricane Center even says days 3, 4, 5, a lot of things can change. So while this is no threat to us, it's still something the east coast of Florida, and for that matter, the southeast coast of the U.S., has to keep their eyes on. Here's a look at Florida's most accurate 7-day forecast. Rain chances still above normal, 40 to 50%. Highs upper 80s to low 90s, and then a little breezy as Matthew comes by. And I think for us, it actually swings some drier air into our neck of the woods by next weekend.